Welcome to Unit 4. We are going to start this unit by going ahead and collecting all of the assets you plan to use in your game so that way you don't have to pause part of the way through and go looking for things. I want you to go ahead and create a collection of what you want to use. We are going to make a Asteroids game. So if you're not familiar with asteroids, there is going to be a link for this project to this page. But as always, if you go to knoxgamedesign.weebly.com, find the unit, and then go to this informational page right here. I've written down a description. I'm not going to read the entire thing because that seems a little redundant and silly. But you can see this nice little GIF I've put here. It shows the overall idea of the game Asteroids. Now, you may not have played this original version of Asteroids, but basically it was a game where your player is a small ship and you shoot asteroids that fly in from the edges of the screen at random directions and try to avoid the obstacles. You shoot the larger asteroids and they split off into smaller asteroids and so on. So that's basically the premise of our game. We're obviously going to add a little bit more polish, but at its core, that's what we are making. So I've listed some core elements, just like on the last game. We need a player can be able to fly the ship around the screen. We want to make sure that the screen wraps so that the player and asteroids go off one side and reappear on the other side. We want the player to be able to shoot bullets to destroy obstacles. And we want asteroids to spawn from the edges of the screen. The asteroids have to be breakable, and the score is kept. Secondary elements that we'll add after we have our core game system up and running is that we need to have a life system that allows our player to have multiple chances. I thought a fun addition to this game might be experimenting with power-ups that affect the gameplay. Animation of sprites and effects, so adding taking our core sprites and adding something to them. Perhaps if you are doing the same theme of game, I'm going to continue with the space theme on mine, so I'm going to also have a spaceship. I will probably animate some thrusters behind the ship whenever the player is in motion to give it the effect that the ship is flying forward. I'd also like to make it so that it increases in difficulty as the score goes up. Perhaps the spawners are activated to spawn more asteroids, or maybe we'll set up a wave system. I haven't quite decided yet. And of course, sound effects. So, things that you're going to need to collect for this game. You need to have a theme. So you do not have to have a space shooter. That is not a requirement of this game. The mechanics, yes. The theme, no. So if you want to have maybe you have, instead of a spaceship, you could have a player character that's just like a top-down sprite. You can do that. There are tons of top-down shooter sprites on the internet that you could find. Maybe instead of asteroids flying in from the edges of the screen, you want it to be, I don't know, candy. Could be candy flying in from the edges of the screen, or food, like you're shooting to collect the food. I don't know. That's up to you. But pick a theme. Doesn't have to be space. You can do space if you want to, but it doesn't have to be space. The pack I'm going to use for assets is this one right here. I found it on Game Dev Marketplace. And it's got pretty much everything I could want. Down at the bottom of the picture, it conveniently lists everything that it has in here. It's got 50 plus sprites, background elements, of effects, which, is probably like sparkles, particle effects, stuff like that. 4 tracks, so 4 background music possibilities, and 21 sound effects, which is way more than I need, but that's fine. But I do like this pack. I think it's kind of cutesy, a little bit more fun, kind of my style. I like this, so I'm going to use it. You can use whatever you want, wherever you want to find it. Now, I'm not going to go in depth finding assets because I've created for you a video, which if you go to your Google Classroom and go to the core skills section, there are 2 videos here. One is how to export and upload your project, which you should be familiar with this video because you've watched it before. And the second one is how to find assets. This one will go through all of the web pages that I have on your resources so far and tell you how to go through the process of getting those assets. But If you want to, I also briefly touched on how to like just Google search for assets and work your way through that stuff. So don't feel limited by this, but if you need help or clues on tips and how to find things, then this is your video. So I'm not going to go through it again. It seems excessive. So just know I've got this asset pack and I'm going to use it to get started. So the first step, you are pretty familiar with adding sprites and everything into the game. So let's go ahead and just set up a prototype scene. Get a feel for what our sprites look like in the scene before we start adding any type of code. I like to do that as a first step just because I really feel like it sets the tone for the game. When you start out your game with the assets you're going to use in the final product, then you really have this sense of like it feels complete even when you don't have everything in there. It gives you a really good feeling. So, new project. This is the fourth time doing this. Hopefully, only the fourth time. I'm hoping you hadn't had to restart at any point. But it should be pretty familiar. So, project name, I'm calling mine Comets as like a play on words. Like it's not the regular Asteroids game. It's Comets. But that's again, you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to change my save location. You will not need to do this, but I do because I am making a repository for you guys. It won't let me go into my documents folder. So I'm going to pause the video and I will figure this out. Okay, got that figured out. I chose my directory again. You don't need to change yours. Just keep saving it wherever it's been saving. That's fine. And create project. And again, you just wait for it to finish up. It'll do all the creation of every asset that we need. Okay, we got everything set up in our scene, just like always. Stuff we need to do to get started is we need to import our package of assets. So figure out wherever you saved that. Mine is right here, so I'm just going to drag that just straight into my assets folder for now. Make sure that you remember whenever you download an asset pack, it will probably be a zipped file, so you'll have to unzip the file to drag it in. Don't try to drag in a zipped file. You won't know what to do with that. And now that it is all done, I've got this. I'm going to rename this folder stock assets because I know I'm going to, in the end, make it so that I have folders that have everything I want in them. So let's look at some backgrounds that I've got here. Let's check out the inspector. And I think I'm going to give my inspector more room again. So this is going to be kind of crowded over here. That's okay. I just want to make it so that I have more space. Let me put my project tab up here and close my services tab and make my console very small. Okay. And let's look at these background assets to see what they look like. So I've got a purple spacey one. Got some planets. These are cute. I like them. Kind of like this one because it's got lots of asteroids on it already. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that into my scene. And it's obviously not big enough to fill this space right now, so I'm going to double check my sprite render here, make sure everything is kind of set the way I want it. Let's set the scale to, looks like if I double the size, I'll get pretty close. Yeah, pretty close. And I think for my aspect ratio for this game, I don't know that I want it to be 16:9. I know we usually work in that ratio, but I kind of wonder if maybe a vertical, well, no, I think 16:9. That we'll leave it for now. It's fine. Maybe try 2.5 on the scale. Nope, not quite wide enough. 2.75. As a game dev, you're going to find yourself experimenting a lot with numbers, and that is fine. So, 0.8. There we go. Now it's not stretched out. It doesn't look, horrible because the design itself is actually pixelated, so it's supposed to look like that. All the sprites are very similar, kind of spritey looking things. I know I want to use both types of meteors in my game, so I'm going to actually throw in one of each type. So let's move this, figure out where it is, and are you hiding behind the background? Looks like my sorting here. So let's put this -10. So what I just did is there's a setting in your sprite renderer called order in layer that makes it so that you can put objects in front of other objects, which is really nice for whenever you want some objects to pass over and some objects to pass behind. So I just set the background layer to -10. So I'm going to call this background sprite. And I'm good with that as a name, but now I at least know what it is. Got a Meteor 1. Let's look at what Meteor 2 looks like in the scene. Are you smaller? Yep, this is one of the tiny versions, so I'll put that there just so you can tell that that's a little version of that sprite. I'm not quite happy with the sizes of things right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and scale things up by a factor of 2. This is all part of the prototyping process. Right now I'm doing a kind of a visual prototype for my game to see how it looks and if I'm happy with it. So I go ahead and scale that up. I don't know if I want this to be 2 or I think I want my orange sprite. I want that guy to be a big boy. So I'm going to make him 3. Yeah, now he feels a little bit more different and more ominous than the smaller asteroid. Maybe he'll have a larger hit point pool. Not sure. Something to think about. And then this is one of these little breakaway pieces. So in Asteroids, whenever you shoot an asteroid and you break it, it breaks into smaller pieces and then you destroy the smaller pieces in one shot. So that's how that kind of works. Maybe in my game, I might, use these stars as my power-ups. That's a possibility. Or maybe I'll use the black hole to teleport to some kind of scene where everything is worth more points. I don't know. Haven't decided yet. Let's look here. We need a ship. So what ship do we want to use? I don't want to use a squid, though they're very cute. I do want it to stand out against the background. I have a purple background. Complementary colors usually stand out better. So maybe yellow. See what yellow looks like. He's tiny, but let's make him by a factor of 3 bigger. And I can adjust this later because I don't really want him to dwarf the asteroids either, but he's very visible right now. So I'm good with that. And shooting, what kind of lasers do I want him to shoot? I want him to be visible, so definitely not purple. Maybe blue. Blue seems like it probably is good. Do I want him to look like this or this? I think I want him to look more like little bullets. So that, let's maybe make these chunky. Yeah, there we go. So whenever he shoots bullets, he will shoot them out like so, and they'll come out in a little chain and look like that. So yeah, I've kind of basically set up a visual prototype. I now know exactly what my game is going to look like, and as I build this game, it will look like a game. It will look very cool, and that is one of those things that just, as a game developer, it's nice to start with some of your finished assets so you get a feel for it as you're working on it, because it's easier to fix things and work on things as you're going along to have everything kind of worked out. So I'm going to rename this first one to Bullet, because naming things is important. I'm going to call this Yellow Ship, just in case at some point maybe I want to add more ships into my scene. Let's call this Small Brown big brown. This is small red, small orange, I'll call him small red. He's not really either of those colors. And come on, let me rename you. Thank you. Big red. All right. So we've got all this figured out. We've got everything in our stock. Let's go ahead and rename our scenes folder to _scenes so we don't lose it. And let's open this. The scene we're currently using is called sample scene. I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call this prototype, because this scene is really just here for me to get everything laid out, get my prefabs kind of started and set up, and figure out, exactly what I want my game to look like. So I'm just going to call this game prototype scene. I'm going to save it. I'm going to go ahead and make a prefabs folder. And I'm going to go ahead and prefab everything that I know that I'm going to need. So I know I'm going to need my main camera to be a prefab. My asteroids are going to have to be prefabs. My background, probably going to have to be a prefab. The only thing that I probably won't prefab is that second bullet that I made, because I don't need 2 bullets. I just really have it there. I'm going to actually name this. I'm going to call this yellow player. Yellow player feels more specific. Not players, player. There we go. Okay. I'm going to call that yellow player. Anyway, I'm not going to prefab that second bullet because I really just put it in there to get an idea of what it would look like whenever I'm like sending out multiple bullets, just to make sure that it doesn't look too doofy. And it looks pretty good, so I'm happy with it. I got everything prefabbed out of this scene, which is nice. I'll probably use this scene here at the beginning of our game just to do some tests and figure some things out. Another thing that we're going to do is we are going to go back to our old project, and we're going to do something new that you have not done before. And we're going to export some of the elements of our old project and bring them into our new project, because they are things that we are going to use. And so we figure if we've already made them once, there's not really a lot of reason to make them multiple times. So make sure you save all of this and then go up to File, Open Project, and then open up your project from before, your physics game, your block breaker, whatever you decided to call it. Okay, so we have some things in here that are very useful to us, some scripts that we've written that there's not really any reason to rewrite them. So we've got this really useful level manager script, right? It is the script that we wrote that keeps our, gives us our method for adding text to our scene. So we're going to take that. We're also going to take this script for our scene loader. Before I had you copy and paste it, but we can actually do this fun thing called exporting a package to export everything wholesale and bring it into our next project and not have to worry about remaking it. So we're going to take those two things and bring them with us. I would say if you want, you could actually bring in some scene stuff. We'll definitely take our scene loader prefab because it's got some information on it, and our level manager prefab, we'll bring that with us too. So go up to the top of your screen and go to Assets. You're going to click on Export Package, and here we can go through and select everything that we want to save out of this project. So got a level manager selected right now, and I don't know how it is trying to figure it out. So I'm going to try this. Clicked on just assets. There we go. Okay, now everything's here. So I'm going to uncheck everything by clicking none because I don't want the whole game. I don't need the whole game. I am going to take out some of the items that I know we're going to need. So I'm going to go ahead and take my game over scene, my start screen and my win screen. Those seem like useful things to have. My level manager script. my scene loader, and I don't think I need any of the rest of this. I'm not going to use that font again because it's fun, but it's not exactly the same thing I need. I'm going to import the post-processing stack on its own. So yeah, we'll just call that good. So click export. We have to come up with a name for our project. So I'm going to save mine as scene logic and put it in a place where you can find it. In your case, I'd recommend your desktop. I'm going to put it in my game design folder. That's where I hoard things right now, so that's where I'm going to put it. But desktop is almost always the easiest place to find things. And I know this looks slightly different than your scene, but it should look close enough, and you're pretty familiar with computers at this point. You should be okay. So I'm going to export it there, and it opens it up, and we can now see it's scenelogic.unity package opens up on my screen. And it's all ready to go. So I'm going to go back here, go to File, Open Project, and pop back over to my Comets project. Ow. Pro tip, don't knee your desk. It doesn't feel great. All right. I've got some errors, and I think that might be related to my scene, but that's okay. You shouldn't have any extra errors. That's just a me problem. So go up to Assets, Import Package, Custom Package, and then navigate to where you saved that information. So if you saved it on your desktop, if you saved it in your downloads, wherever you saved it, go find it. I'm going to go to my game design folder, get my scene logic package, and click Open. It gives me the information that's going to be added. It shows me that it's going to put these two things in my prefabs folder. It's going to put these in my scenes folder, and it's going to put these create a scripts folder, and going to add those to it. So that's great. One of the perks of naming everything the same is so that everything is very matchy-matchy. And now I have everything from before. So I've got my level manager. I've got all of this fun stuff that I need. I'm going to go ahead and also import my TextMesh Pro information, and going to add a canvas to my scene and my TextMesh Pro font. I'm going to download and get ready for the next scene so that everything is laid out and ready to go for us to move forward. I'm going to do that off screen, so my challenge to you is to go ahead and add a canvas to your scene, pick out your font that you're going to be using, and I will meet you back here whenever you have all of that done.